Good morning, guys. This is the Recovery Channel podcast. My name is Dr. Rob, the Addiction Doctor, with my co-host, as usual, Jennifer Lovely. It's a fantastic day, guys. Welcome to the show. Jen, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Except I was up so early this morning hoping to see your bright face, and I had the wrong time. So.
Oh, my God, no. Darn it.
So I was cursing you. Horrible things this morning.
It's not the first time they've done that. They've done that 3 times this week. I'll keep saying, check the times, check the local time. Okay, we checked it. It's 7 a.m. Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, it's 9 a.m. What? Crazy. Let's fire the backroom staff.
All right, let's do that.
Yeah, and then just me and you will run this show. I might get Paris on as well so she can help us run it. That would be awesome. Hey, guys, let me tell you something. Recover Me Coaching is taking off. So if you want to place, especially in Jennifer's workshop, I'm telling you, listen, let me tell you something, guys. I'm going to be honest for a second, real honest to the bone. And I've said this before. I've worked with psychologists. I've worked with MDs. I've worked with psychiatrists. I've worked with counselors. I've seen them all perform. And I'm telling you now, Jennifer Lovely is the best person I've ever worked in. Talking about education, talk of the diseases and everything that we go through, relationships, and talking about bringing you around and getting the best out of you. She really is the best. So this workshop that I say we're doing, because it's off recovermecoaching.com website, but it's really Jennifer. And it's also a lot of writing as well. So, you know, for $100, are you kidding me? Jeez, I mean, that's just unbelievable. So, guys, I know you're listening. Jump on the website or jump on our Facebook and follow us. And you won't regret it, guys. It's going to be a fantastic.
I know. I'm excited.
You're the best, Jen. You know that?
You're the best.
Okay, we have Paris on the show. We love Paris. I love Paris anyway.
I love her already. I didn't even know her.
I know. She's so bubbly. She's so awesome. I have like a professional crush on her. She's very, very professional. Great podcast. We met just on the hot. She's just such an amazing person that they're one of them people you just want to be near.
Yes.
You know, just kind of want to know. She's awesome what she does. So stay around, guys, for like, I don't know, give me 15 seconds and we'll be back. Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, we got Paris from Crooked Illness with us, my host, Jennifer Lovely, and this is Recovery Channel Podcast. Good morning, Paris.
Good morning, guys. Hello.
How are you?
Happy to see you.
I'm happy to see you too. First time virtually meeting Jennifer. And I'm excited about it too. And good to see Dr. Rob again. Hello.
Well, the funny thing is that I'm still meeting Jennifer virtually because we've never met in real life.
What? You guys never met?
People are like, we work together. We do the show together. It's like we're chatting every single day, you know, and it's just like, you've never met. And like, no, we've never met. So when we probably meet, we'll probably argue for the first time and never speak to each other.
But the best part, I feel like it's actually my biggest accomplishment because I literally enrolled this man into like coming into business with me, and we have never met personally. I'm like, no, we have to do this. And he tried to like get rid of me sometime. And then I was like, no, we should be.
You got him.
When did I do that?
You guys are so cute. I love it.
I want to say, when did I do that? But knowing me, I probably did it on a couple of occasions. But it's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Aww.
So it's so nice to meet you, Paris. And I'm so excited that you're in Arizona. Like, maybe I'll have a friend there.
Yes. When I heard you were coming to Sedona, I was like, yes, she's coming out here because it's gorgeous. You will love it. Yes. You'll have the best time. And we'll actually be able to meet in person, which is kind of rare. Like we don't really see many face-to-face in-person stuff anymore. So
I know. So it's special. But I'm really curious. I have 2 questions.
Okay.
Tell me about Crooked Illness and tell me what the meaning behind it is.
Okay, so Crooked Illness is the podcast that I launched at the beginning of this year, and I decided to launch it to bring more conversations to the table related to mental health and mindset. Because I was always, before I did this, I would have conversations with a lot of people, and I was like, you know what, why don't I just put it out there and actually do the episodes? And I started to really fall in love with the process of getting to connect with people like Dr. Rob, who I had on my podcast talking about his story, sharing his experiences. And what I really like to do is highlight key points that people, found or learned about in the process. Like, what did you take away from the lowest moments that you were in? What did you gain? What kind of clarity did you get from that? And the meaning of Crooked Illness, I actually just decided to do an episode on this because I got this question so much. Like, people were like, what does it mean? Where did you come up with that? And it's actually the name of the book that I'm working on, Crooked Illness, because it stems from two perspectives. So 2 different perspectives that I have. So the first one is I gained when I was 19. So when I was 19, I was hospitalized with bipolar disorder, struggling really badly from inside the walls of that hospital. So that was one perspective of seeing things from a patient view, seeing what that looks like. And then when I was 23, I graduated from school and got my first job out of college, actually working at the same clinic that I was a patient at. And I would go and I would have appointments at. So I got to see things from, I guess I call it the employee viewpoint. So kind of 2 different angles. And what I realized from seeing things from those 2 angles, and I call it crooked, like to me, crooked means just bent or not working right. So I talk about it in the sense of stigma. So stigma that you see from both sides. So stigma that you see from the patient viewpoint from your own self that you attach to your own mental illness, and then seeing it from the perspective of someone working and trying to help these people, serve these people, and kind of seeing it there as well. So, and just different things that don't work on both sides that I've noticed. So I put that name out there and I started working on my book, writing that. And then I did the podcast and I'm like, this is my mental health and mindset and kind of that whole thing. So yeah, so that's really where that comes from.
Yeah, that's really.
So tell me, you talked about being in a hospital and working at the same place now. Talk to me about the lowest part of your life, the lowest time of your life.
Yeah, so I think it was right before I went into the hospital, because I was 19, and the thing is that nobody believed that anything was wrong with me. Because I feel like, when you look on the outside, you look good, you look fine, you're working, you're going to school, you have friends, you're doing all this stuff. You don't seem like anything's like unusual is going on with you. There doesn't seem anything off. And I remember, basically felt like I was, going to my therapist, going to my, my doctor, and I would hear the same thing every time. Like, I don't think nothing's really going on. And I'm literally sitting there like, this isn't normal to be working 2 jobs, have endless amount of energy, just be going out all night, doing all, like, that's not something. And I felt like I was like, it was such a weird place, because trying to describe it to you now is like, I don't know why it's hard to do that. Because it's like, I forget bits and pieces, but it almost felt like I wasn't here in reality with everyone else. Like I was just like slowly losing connection with, and I was just kind of in my own bubble, and I just didn't like it. I was trying so hard to figure out like why, like how could you lose control of yourself? Like, how can you just not like, I'm like, how is that a thing? Like, how can that happen to somebody? But because I remember when I was younger, I never really knew what bipolar was. I learned about it because my mom's sister is bipolar. And I remember all the negative connotations with like, okay, like you're crazy, unstable, you can't trust this person, can't be around them. Like, and I would hear all of that. So that's all I thought that meant. So I remember, thinking, because I was actually misdiagnosed as well with depression at 16. So yeah, it's a whole big story. I can get into all the details, but yeah, basically the lowest point is just feeling like nobody thought that I needed help, because they thought that I was, I looked fine. And I feel like that's the biggest misconception with a lot of mental illness is people think, this person doesn't seem like anything's wrong. Like, look at them, look at, I feel like people always do that. Like, you'll look at them on the outside, see their whatever they're putting out there on social media, and they seem fine, they seem good, but when they ask for help and then people are like, no, like you don't need it, and I'm just like, okay, like, so yeah.
I can really relate to that, in that recently I wrote a book called Addiction Diaries. I have a chapter in the book, and it's a story about being a mom to 2 children that are addicted to heroin. And I gave it to my girlfriend, and she, at the next day after she read it, she goes, I didn't actually realize you were struggling so much when you were going through that. And I remember like hearing what she said, and then I found myself like rageful. And then we had lunch later in the day, and I was like, how did you not know that? Like, you've been my friend for like 12 years. How did you not know that I was struggling? And I just was in, and she goes, I don't know. I mean, I just figured you were just kind of going through the motions. So, and it was hurtful to hear. So talk to me about like that feeling when people didn't, like, they saw you manically doing this stuff, but how come they didn't know?
And I think that was hard for me too, because I remember, when I was at 16 when I was diagnosed with depression, then at 19 when I was diagnosed bipolar. I feel like even when I had the depression diagnosis, I remember I just felt like no one took me seriously. I remember going to my appointments and my therapist, basically tell, you don't really need to be here. And I remember one time my psychiatrist literally told me, he was like, well, you should just have, your dad, buy you a car and you'll feel better. That's what I do for my daughters. And it was weird because I knew his kids because I went to school with them. So it was kind of like a weird, I don't know. I just felt like no one ever really took me seriously. And they're like, okay, she's just here for her appointment, and I kind of just saw it as like, I started to not take myself seriously because of that. And I started to not care. So I started to, and because in the beginning I was very like that, the same way you said you couldn't believe your friend of 12 years didn't know that what you were dealing with, didn't know. It's like, how do you not know? And I feel like for me, like I notice a lot of different things, like little things in people when I get to know them. So I notice it's like, okay, this is weird. Like they're not how they are. But I think that people just didn't really know how to react because because I remember when I was younger, I feel like I was, like how I seem right now, like very outgoing, like bubbly out here, like, and then I just completely changed, like was silent, didn't really know what to say, didn't really care what to talk about. So yeah, I mean, I just think it kind of went from a place of feeling like, how can you not know, to like, I don't really care anymore. And that was bad. So.
Hey guys, Crooked Illness, Paris is on the show. Such a great show so far. Stick around, guys. It's a word from our sponsor. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. This is Recovery Channel Podcast. My name is Dr. Rob, the Addiction Doctor, along with Jennifer Lovely. Our guest today is Paris from Crooked Illness. Welcome back, guys. So we were just talking about certain things. I'm sorry you missed it if you just joined us, but I've asked about the worst time in your life. I want to flip to the best. One of the best things in your life today. What makes you tick today and make you get up every morning and want to attack the world?
Yeah, so I think it's honestly these kind of conversations, like being able to have these conversations, because I feel like in the past I was so afraid. I'm like I'm never gonna tell anybody like about that time in my life. I literally was so afraid of anyone finding out that I was in a hospital, that I was diagnosed bipolar, that I was on medication, because I really created this like box for myself. If I have to stay here and I can't leave, like I can't get out of that. And I feel like the second that I started to work on myself and actually do personal development, start reading books, start talking to people, having these conversations, and really realizing that, there is so much power in vulnerability, and being able to realize that maybe something you're saying can potentially help somebody so much. Because I know when I was in my position, if I heard, somebody saying the things that I'm saying, that would have potentially changed the direction I was on in my life at the time. So I know that's really the happiest that I am right now, is just being able to do this and, have these conversations, hear people's stories. That's really what I love, is hearing those stories. Like when I heard yours, Dr. Rob, when you came on and talked to me, and every time I'm done with the conversation, I always take so much away. And I'm just like, it lights me up like nothing else, being able to see that in somebody and just do that and really know that you don't have to, because I feel like the biggest aspect of it is like the mindset piece. Is I literally created this mindset for myself that I couldn't, and my biggest passion is mental health and mindset and doing that. And I was like, no, like you can't, I'm like, you can't do that. You can't go there. You can't. So being able to do that and have people tell me their stories and the moments that in their life where they've learned the biggest lessons, that's really what I love more than anything. So
yeah. And so this is going to be kind of a funny analogy. And if it's offensive, it's not meant to be offensive. So I'm going to put that in there. Wait for it, Dr. Rob, wait for it. So what I'm imagining telling somebody, a lover or somebody that you're going to be dating with, I have bipolar disorder, would be like almost like, going on, getting ready to have sex with somebody and them saying like, hey, I've got herpes or an STD or something, right? And so I'm imagining, because of the stigma, because people are not fully educated on it, must be scary. So talk to me about what that's like for you.
Okay. Yeah. That's actually a really good analogy. That's not that you're like, don't want to tell. That's actually good. That's good. Because I agree with you, because I know for me, for the longest time, like I would never want to, like anyone I'm dating, like would not want to talk about it. And my boyfriend, who I've been with for two years now, like I remember I remember telling my best friend, and I was with her when I met him, and I didn't want to meet anyone. And she's always like the type to like run up to people and be like, this is my friend, like my hot best. And I'm like, shut up. Like, I'm here with you. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, and I remember like telling her, I was like, I don't know, like if I want to say this. And I remember I like said it and told him the whole story. And I was like, and I'm sitting there crying, and like, he's like, that's not going to change anything, and I didn't even know him that well. And I feel like that's such a common thing that people deal with. Like when you're like dating somebody or whatever, you don't want them to look at you like in a certain way and like change how they feel about you because you say that. And I feel like for me, like the biggest thing was always like, what if I say this and this person is like, I don't want to be with you because like, I don't want to have like a family one day with you and have our child like potentially have some kind of mental illness. And I know that was always and that came from my own fear. That was my thing that I turned into like, what if, and I feel like we always do that. We have something we're afraid of and we turn it into this big thing where like everybody is going to hold this against us. And I feel like, and I feel like the relationship wouldn't work anyway if you can't be honest, because I feel like at some point, like when you're that's like trying to hide who you really are. I don't know. Like it's a big part of your life or whatever, but I feel like it makes it like, it's not authentic and you're not really being you and you're trying like to like walk around it. And I mean, like there's really no point, cause I feel like now in 2020, people are more accepting of things like that than they were before, for me at least. Cause I know I'm only 25, but I feel like I'm like 70, I feel like that. So it's like mentally, like that's how I feel. So I feel like reflecting like 10 years ago, I definitely 100%. I was like, I would never tell anyone that. Like, no way.
That's part of the addictive brain. That's part of the self care kind of side of the brain where, you hide stuff. And if they only knew who you really were, it's part of that not feeling good enough, not feeling fitting in. You want everyone to like you, people please. So I never used to in the past tell anybody. And sometimes when they did, I stopped getting the phone calls, and that's just the way it was. So I decided to come out real strong and out there loud and proud so everyone knows today. But I think me doing that was still some sort of self-protection for myself. Is that I'm going to tell them before they get back on me. I'm going to tell the world and just get it out of the way. I remember going to London once. I was working in London and I'd not been sober for long, and I was struggling. And I called back in the day. There was no cell phones, so I called from the house AA, and I said, "Hey, I'm desperate. I want to drink, And I've never told anybody I'm an alcoholic." I said, "I don't know what to do," and he asked where were, and he said, "Okay, I've got directions. Go here, 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 here." And I got in the car, and I got this big, what we call A to Z map, and I'm trying to get round, and I'm passing like liquor store after liquor store, and I couldn't wait to get there. And all of a sudden, I pulled in to this church in the car park, and because I'd been to AA before, and I looked through the window, and there was the meeting. All these people gathered round, and I thought it was a women's meeting because it was like all women's gathered around the table, just like we do in the UK. And I burst in, and I remember thinking on the way in, I'm going to tell him I'm an alcoholic. I'm going to get it out there and just tell him. And I burst in the door, and I walked to the table, and I was so nervous, and I sat down, and it was quiet, and I just said, "My name's Rob, I'm an alcoholic." And the relief for a couple of seconds was, whew. Then this lady turned around to me and says, "Well, that's very good, and thank you for telling us, but this is the knitting circle. The meeting, true story, is at the back of the church." And ever since then, I've just blurted out. So I just wanted to put that in there. So tell me, for somebody watching this today, what's the most important thing they need to know about mindset?
The most important thing you need to know about mindset is that you're in control of it. You're in control of your own mindset. Because I know for the longest time, it's easy to feel like you aren't, like, given certain circumstances, but at the end of the day, you can control, and you can really place yourself where you want to be if you're willing to take the time to do the work and, put yourself first and take care of yourself. Because I know that's one of the biggest things too, is before I started doing all this, I thought a certain way, and the way that I thought was so negative and so grim, and like I had this I'm like, who wants to live like that? Like, do I want to stay? Do I really want to continue to wake up every day and think that, all these things about myself, and, I can't do this and I can't do that. And it's like, who wants to stay like that? So I was like, I'm going to try to get out of this. I'm going to try to do whatever it is. And I feel like the first step is knowing that you need to work on you. And because I feel like sometimes a lot of us think, okay, maybe if this was different, then I would change, or this and that and whatever. But, just being able to know that you're in control of that, and that you can basically, place yourself wherever you want, because I feel like that's the biggest thing I took away from my whole experience is the relationship between mental health and mindset, and how bad my mindset was, and how that really affected my mental health ultimately, and all the things that I was doing and not doing, and how I was feeling. It was because how I would wake up every day and think about myself, other people, the world, and everything was negative. It's like, where is the pot? Like, just completely consumed with negativity and feeling like, you're stuck and you can't do this and you can't go anywhere. And it's like that's really another thing that I've seen in so many other people who I've worked with. When I did go back to that clinic, is that like same kind of a mindset. And it was like almost repeating. And I'm like, if this could be fixed, if this could be like turned around, then so much could happen for you and for your life and your quality of life and the way that you feel, if you could change that. And you can. And that's the biggest thing, is that you can do that. And I feel like it's almost sometimes we put ourselves in this position of where you can't, and just knowing that you can that's a big thing. So
big thing. So Dr. Rob, I have to share my story. The first time I was working with this therapist, and he's like, "I really think you need to go to SLA." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think you need to go there." And I'm like, "Okay." So I go there and I walk in. I'd never been to a meeting before. I walk in, I'm like, "Hi, my name's Jennifer Lovely." And they're like, "Yeah, we don't say our last names here." Funny. But I wanted to say, well, my question for you, Paris, is I really believe that inside of our suffering is a part of us that there's something that wants to be expressed, something deeply that wants to come, that's lurking underneath the surface. So what is the thing that needed to be expressed in you?
I think it was just that you know, like I have a place here, because I felt for the longest time that I don't. And I started to allow, because I started not to care, right? Because of everything. I'm like, no one thinks anything's wrong with me. I'm just like this, like I'm the funny person who's in the group who just is like whatever, and no one takes me seriously. So I started to not take myself seriously and basically allow myself to like put myself in situations where, guys would treat me like shit. I didn't care. I would put up with it. I didn't care. And, people would not, and I just allowed all this stuff to happen. I really didn't take care of my own self. And I feel like the thing that needed to be expressed is that I do have a place here, because I started to kind of feel like, what am I doing here? I'm like, and that's really what makes me sad, is that, the fact that you can have an understanding of how someone's feeling, because when they're suicidal, because I never attempted suicide, or it's like weird to describe. I just didn't want to, I don't know how to like put that into words. It was like, I felt like and I think it was because of the mindset thing of it was so toxic and so bad that I got to that place where I was like, I don't know like what my point is to be here, because no one takes me seriously. And I started to feel like it was a reflection of me. Like I was not taking myself seriously. And like, and then because of that, I was starting to see everybody else, they're the same way. I'm like, if I don't think this, then everyone thinks that. And that's not true. And that comes from, all the stuff, all the built up things of not wanting to talk about anything, not wanting to, really be myself, not wanting to do that. And I feel like the biggest piece is that people, should take away is that you do have a place here, even if you don't know what it is right now. There's something, and there always will be something. And, just to realize that, no matter what is going on, that's to know that, because that took me like that. I think that's the biggest thing that I was trying to express through all of that, but I didn't know how to do that at the time, I think, because I just got so lost in this, this place of not really caring. And I feel like that's sad when you reach that point, because then it's like, and it's like, yeah.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Guys, this is the Recovery Channel podcast. We'll be right back after this. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. My name is Dr. Rob, the Addiction Doctor, along with Jennifer Lovely, my co-host. And we have Paris from Crooked Illness. Got a good question for you now. It's just come in on the messenger from Jane, and she lives in Leeds, which is in the UK. It's north of Manchester. So Jane says, when we're self-sabotaging or in our own life, why do you think we attract the wrong people in our life?
So I think we attract the wrong people because we don't place, an importance on our own self. So when you don't care about yourself, really, you don't care who you attract, and you don't care if it's, how they're going to treat you or what they're going to, what their intentions are. And I definitely feel like that's the case for me, is that's what I did. And, look, it's so crazy to look back now and literally like realize the situations that I put myself in and how I couldn't care that was happening or what was going on or how people were treating me. That it's like, how do you not care? And it's because I didn't care about me. I stopped and I would just do whatever I did to like try to forget things or numb things or try to run away and not really deal with anything. And I feel like that's the thing, is that I was attracting all of that. And then I remember I would sit there and I would be like, wow, like I don't really feel like anyone cares. And I feel like that's kind of where that comes from, of when you're attracting that energy and you're allowing that into your life, you start to sit there and question like, no one cares. No one wants me here. No one loves me, because that's all you're around, that's all you really know. And until you're able to get out of that or see that, I mean, it's a really like toxic pattern that you have to take the time to put yourself first and really see that. And I'm, I feel like I realized that when I came home from the hospital. That was the moment where I was like, I remember checking my phone because I was in there for 2 weeks and they give you your phone back. And I remember like scrolling and like all the messages, like it's like people didn't really, like I think people obviously knew like, where are you for 2 weeks? Like, why aren't you answering? Like, what is this? But it wasn't, like messages that you would, really feel like the person cares about you. It's kind of like, I don't know, just yeah.
Well, self-love is a revolution.
Yeah.
Self, right? And so Paris, you're different than me and I am different than you, and your self-love is different than how my self-love is going to look. And so when we can begin to honor like the part of us that is special and beautiful and magical, we can begin and give ourselves that. We can begin to have that, revolutionary act. But my question for you is, polarization is the inability to see ourselves in others or for others to see themselves in us, right? And so that's how we become so polarized. So how do you help humans become less polarized and support them in being able to see, hey, you are me and I am you? How do you help?
Yeah, so that's something that is really important to me, and trying to express that and have people understand that. Because I know, obviously, everyone can come from a different place, right? And have different like emotions, different reactions, different feelings to things. But I always want to convey, like your feeling isn't always going to be the same as his or hers or this person's, but just to be able to understand that person. And like, I always try to think like when I hear someone say something, I'm like, what's making them say that? Why would they say that? And like think, and you could sit there and say like, okay, put yourself in that person's shoes, but try to reflect on, what experiences has this person had in their life to make them come to the conclusion that what they're saying is like true. And it's like, I used to, when I was younger, I used to like just try to argue, like argue, and I would want to fight and like, no, like, but now it's like, I don't see the point in that unless it's like unless it's hurting that person, unless they're literally talking about something that is hurting them or like other people that they care, like physically impacting them, and I just, I mean, is that what the question? Okay. Because I'm like, I want to answer it. I'm like, not trying to.
No, it's good. Absolutely. Message from John in Dallas, Texas. What makes you laugh today?
I feel like I always like to be around funny people, and like have like, what makes me laugh is just when people like, I don't know, like when you're just you and you don't care, and like you're doing, like I see your personality and I see parts of you that bring joy to your day and bring joy to like you're showing me things that are special to you and important to you, and just, I don't know, to have like a genuine connection with someone where like you can really just be yourself and say whatever you want, and like they're not going to think you're like crazy or whatever, like, okay, like, I don't know, just having that like bond with somebody. And I feel like I laugh a lot anyway, so like, and I feel like it's a good thing. Like, who would want to walk around all day long and it's like no smile, like, because I feel like that brings you happiness into your day, even if you're not having a good day. Even if you're like in the grocery store and like someone like checking you out says something and you're like, oh, ha, ha, and then you're like, my day sucks, but that was funny. Like in that moment, it's like I feel like people need that. Like you need to have that happening, because it's like, I don't know. Yeah.
Life is too hard to not laugh.
I know.
Talk to me about resiliency is such a huge thing in mindset. Mm-hmm. So how do you support people to have resilience? Because it is actually a muscle that we have to flex.
Yeah, yes. I remember I got that question. And it was funny because I remember when I was going back to work at the same clinic, they asked me that in like the job interview. And I wanted so bad to talk about, oh, I used to be a patient, but I was afraid. I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do that. But I really, really wanted to do that. And I feel like resiliency now looking back is not being afraid of bringing out the lowest moments you went through and like expressing that to somebody else and letting them know what you learned from that, what you gained from that, and what that moment in your life taught you and how you're using that going forward, and actually being able to continue on the path of growth or whatever you want to call it that is helping you stay there and really stay in that moment. So I think it's not having a fear of putting that out there anymore, because I feel like I used to I'm like, I can't say that. And it's like, now, like, I'll say it because that's really what happened, and that's what it is. And that's how I am the way I am. And I feel like if I'm going to be afraid, then I'm just going to be afraid for the rest of my life, probably,
Exactly. You can't go walking through life with all that fear. I find fear is not real. You just walk through it, because by the time you get to the occasion, fear doesn't exist. So all that time is wasted. And I'm the worst at it, by the way. So a couple of things. First of all, the herpes thing actually happened to me. Literally happened to me. Just, I know it was horrible. But I couldn't stop thinking about it when you said it, Jen. Yeah, I remember that. Right before it, I need to tell you something. I'm like, what? I was going to say, like, you were awesome or something like that. And then she come out and said that, I have herpes. And I'm like, okay.
So I want to know, what did you do?
Can't answer that. My wife might be watching. Anyway, so we've almost come to the end of the show. Thank absolutely Paris from Crooked Illness coming on. She's amazing. Her own podcast is on anchor.fm, /Crooked Illness. So I want to say thank you so much. I want to recognize you today for being the person you are, for being so professional at such a young age, and here's the big one, because people don't recognize this, having had an effect on hundreds of thousands of people, because everyone tells somebody who tells somebody, and everyone picks one of your phrases up that they tell somebody. So in hindsight, we affect hundreds of thousands of people. Me and Jen, probably millions of people. So I want to thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for who you are. And Jen always finishes with an amazing question. So I'll leave it up to her. Thank you so much, Paris.
Thank you.
I know, Paris, it's been lovely. And,
you're so sweet.
Dr. Rob is sweet. Sometimes.
99% of the time.
No. Talk to me about what your deep knowing is before you leave us today.
Wow. Okay. That's a good one. My deep knowing. Okay. Now you're making me be like, what? I gotta think about this one. Well, I would say, I would say just to anyone listening to know that, if you haven't figured out if you don't feel like you have a purpose, or you don't know what you just feel like you're out there aimlessly wandering around, not knowing, what you want to do or what you're really here for, keep looking and keep doing that. And I feel like it's so much of everything is in the process, because I feel like so many people just really want, they want to know what it is. Like, what am I here for? I just want to know so I can try to get there or try to do this or do that. But I think, in, doing what I'm doing is I've really discovered, I love doing what I'm doing and having these conversations and, being able to feature people's stories and things like that, to potentially have someone listen to that and say, wow, my brother could use this. My dad could use this, or somebody who's going through something similar, who feels stuck and doesn't know what it is. And I feel like maybe if you don't know what your purpose is, maybe you're already living it, but you don't know it. Maybe you're already doing it. And I feel like, to tell people that, it's like, okay, like, she's so young, like, what are you talking about? But it's so true, is because I feel like so many people get in that thing of like, I don't know what I'm here for, or what I'm going to do, or like, what is my thing or whatever. And I feel like just to keep kind of doing what you're doing and surrounding yourself with people who lift you up, support you, and want to see you like continue to grow and do well, and really just, put yourself first, make yourself a priority. And continue to do the things that light you up each day. So
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much. You are just a bright, shining light. And I definitely will stay in touch with you and look forward to meeting you in person.
yes, I would love to meet you when you come out to Sedona. I'm like, Jennifer and Dr. Rob, you guys are amazing. This has been so fun. So fun.
Yeah, so fun. Thank you so much. Wait, you're on mute.
Oh, Doc.
You do realize one thing, that you'll see Jennifer before me. You'll actually get to meet her before me, which is awesome. Absolutely. Guys, Paris from Crooked Illness was on the show. Thank you so much indeed, Paris. We'll be back after this break. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Recovery Channel podcast with myself, Dr. Rob Kelly, the addiction doctor, and Jennifer Lovely. Just had Paris on the show. How cool is that, Jen?
That was so fun.
She's so bubbly and just so full of life.
Yeah, she really is. She's got a lot of joy in her. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was very good. Guys, on Facebook and on YouTube, we're going out live, of course. We've got another show after this, so stick around for a bit. And we will be back again at the top of the hour, as in 20 minutes time, with another fantastic guest. But for now, I want to thank everybody who messaged in, because that was absolutely awesome. And I want to thank Paris for being on the show. So from me, guys, I want to say thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.
Bye.